One of the most important things I'm focused on teaching you on this journey to financial abundance is how to not only spot opportunities, but most importantly, how to exercise getting access to the capital and learning to measure cost of capital when taking advantage of these opportunities. One of the biggest, most prominent and time-tested opportunities out there is long-term and in today's world, short-term real estate investing. I'm gonna give you a good quality training and conversation around how to pick the right capital for taking down and building out your long-term and short-term rental investing portfolio. So the focus point is gonna be, how do I get access to the capital I need at the time frame I need it, at the cost that I need it? You already understand in today's real estate market, long-term, short-term rentals, there's just very unique opportunity out there. We'll start with the long-term part first. The housing market is in a precarious position. Right now, you have interest rates high as they've been in nearly 15 or more years. And in the midst of having interest rates as high as they are, you have a massive inventory shortage. So that basically means that even though there's less people that are able to afford properties than before, you have even less available properties for people to access. So what this has done is created this quandrum where even though real estate isn't growing like it was the last couple of years when interest rates were extremely cheap and we had an inventory shortage then, you've had real estate get this massive compression from the increase in interest rates, but it hasn't really gone down in most markets. And in some markets, it's still growing. And the reason for that is, as I just explained, the inventory problem is bigger than the interest rate problem. There's still a massive demand to buy homes and to own homes, primary residences and investment properties. And of course, this is kind of tilted into creating a pretty massive jump in rent, long-term renting, because people still need somewhere to live. So you still have a shortage of properties, and that's for owner, occupied, or investor. And then you have, people still needing somewhere to live in the midst of working out, trying to afford a primary residence. So this has created a great opportunity for long-term rentals. Even though there's been fluctuations in rents lately based on the economics, for the most part, it's either been steady or going up in most places. This also creates a great opportunity for equity, which is one or two of the four major ways you get paid in real estate: cash flow, equity, mortgage pay down, and tax benefits. So two of those major factors are at play. Long-term rents are basically steady or going up for the most part. And equity now has a really attractive place because even with interest rates where they are, which we're probably somewhere near the top, there's still a massive shortage of properties. So you still have too much demand, even with it being unaffordable for most people with prices and interest rates. You still have too much demand for prices to not only come down, but to stop growing. And so what my projection is for the next 2 to 4 years, maybe 3 to 5 years, is interest rates will crack before the inventory problem cracks. Meaning interest rates, the Federal Reserve, and thus mortgage rates, 10-year Treasury will come down as inflation comes down or the economy cracks. Either one, the rates are gonna come down first before the inventory problem is solved. And even though cracking for interest rates may only be down to 5 and some change, or even low 6%, whatever that looks like, it'll be down in a range where more people are gonna be able to afford a home. That's gonna be game changing because it's gonna flood the market again. And even though they've been trying to fight it, it's gonna create a buying frenzy all over again in real estate. And it's really unavoidable. The inventory crisis situation is not gonna fix itself anytime soon. The basic retail listings are extremely low. And this whole crash theory that's been out there has no wings under it or air beneath its wings, because distressed selling is at an all-time low because nearly 40% of people have paid off properties in the United States. And The other, another 20 or 30% have more than 50% of equity in their properties right now. And then on top of that, those who have less than 50% still have enough equity to sell. Even though selling costs are 6 to 9% on average retail sale of property, people have more than that in equity. So there's just not much of a reason to just sell on a distressed basis. Now, there might be some urgency out there, but outright distress where people are willing to fire sell at 30, 40, 50% off of a property is just not likely. So if that's not there, and you just have a general deficit in available properties on the retail market, at the end of the day, that just makes a massive argument to own real estate, primary residence and investment. Short-term rentals are in the same quandrum with available properties. What's happening in the short-term rental space is a little bit more unique. Basically, what's going on there is you have a pretty decent surge in demand on, even though there's been some tapering off, but it's still ultimately on a grander scale, been a surge in demand for rental, the experience for vacation rentals. People are traveling as much as ever since COVID. And even though hotels are still getting a lot of business since COVID has slacked up, people are still, flooding into the experience of actually being in a full property with a full kitchen and a couple bathrooms, and maybe a yard or whatever else is available with a lot of these Airbnb properties. Regulation has kicked in and shut down or created at least a massive, strip of red tape in a lot of the major cities around the United States. So especially not so business friendly cities in the United States. And so what this has done is the opportunity is still there in short-term rentals, but now you have to get a little more creative about where you buy, in order to watch jurisdictions and, the different local laws around these rental investments. It doesn't mean that people are going to want to stop visiting these places. Now you have to start worrying about buying property in the outskirts of these areas, in the outskirts of suburbia, or the outskirts of downtown, or the outskirts of that, whatever that beach town might be, whatever that place may be that has now had a strict regulation put on short-term rentals, because people still are going to want to go there in droves. So now you need to find, how do I buy a property? How close to this area can I get outside of those new laws and jurisdictions and restrictions to be able to have a successful short-term rental? Now that we've covered that part of it, for those of you who had the attention span to stick through, where does the acquisition of capital and the cost of capital come into play? When you're looking to take down real estate, one of the most important things, if not the most important thing, is going to be access to capital in a timely manner and the cost of capital. This is where the divergence from banks has come into play, because many people who have ventured into real estate investing have noticed that they've had very unique circumstances take place with deals, and that has limited their ability to be able to walk into a bank and get a loan in a timely fashion. And even if they can get over the hoops and hurdles of getting qualified for bank funding, the bank is going to close when they want to close. So when you're trying to compete to take down deals, competitive market that we're in right now, key, with the dry gunpowder ready, is going to be the one who's going to take that deal down, in a sense of speaking. Basically saying whoever has access to the capital and can make that move and close on that deal the fastest is going to take that deal down. So if that's the case, then you need to be structuring out your portfolio for financing in advance. This needs to come before your real estate investing journey really takes off. And if you're already in it, then you need to probably be shifting your focus, unless you're having great success, of course. But if you're struggling around this arena, you need to probably pause and focus on, how do I build out a portfolio of banks and lenders who are ready to do business on the terms I need them to do business? This is what this video is really centered around. You're gonna wanna learn the private and hard money game. I am not opposed to private money and hard money lending. You may catch some of my other content and you hear me steering you away from it into bank funding. And I'm gonna explain that right now. Private and hard money is the solution to the bank problem when it comes to red tape and timing. Private and hard money is going to provide you the capital necessary in a timely fashion, usually with less documentation and requirements, to take down deals fast, and usually as a cash buyer, which is a powerful thing in a competitive market. So they have their place. They're a great tool and a natural response in the market to a deficit that banks have left. That having been said, private money and hard money have unfortunately, and other creative financing methods have unfortunately been over-touted as the fix-all solution for funding for real estate, period. Are there niche situations where that's true? Absolutely. You know, there are these perfect private, individuals or family offices that offer financing at great rates and great terms for the type of real estate investing that you're doing in the market that you're doing it in, etc. And you could build a great rapport and have great success. Generally speaking, there's a lot of counterparty risk. There's a lot of cost that doesn't get associated that a lot of times. And then there's still the control of those financiers in the style of your real estate investing. So these people are going to want to put their money where they feel comfortable. And you may have a project or an idea or a deal that you see the potential in that your private money investor or hard money investor may not. There's also different costs. Hard money lenders are expensive as hell. Most of you who are in the space know you're going to see several points, multiple points, and double-digit interest rates, especially in today's climate, pretty easily when it comes to acquiring capital through a hard money lender. Now, they're faster, they're structured, they can help you take the deal down, they can often give you the funding to take the deal down and rehab. So there's again, they have their place, but you don't want to be there long, for sure. And they're also going to care about the type of property. They may not be comfortable with the kind of deal you're trying to do. And the same thing for a private money lender. Another problem with private money lenders, a lot of times you're being promoted to go after individuals with private money. Great. There could be some great flexibility. And you guys can negotiate a lot better one-to-one as two humans versus human to entity. Because both of you are hopefully going to try to get balance out of the deal. And there's also potential speed. That person has that money cash, and once you guys come to agreements, there's a lot less red tape. You kind of shake hands, you sign whatever paperwork. That's pretty much it. Great. On the flip side of that person is a human being. Their needs can change, their life can change, circumstances can change, financial circumstances can change, and there could be a breach of contract, a calling due of that loan. There's a bunch of factors that can come into play that can disrupt your financing through that individual because they're a human being. What I'm teaching you is why bank business funding, bank real estate investor loan funding is still supreme ultimately in the end. Doing business with a sturdy financial institution is going to reign supreme in the end because they are going to provide you capital that will have the best rates, the best terms, and it's going to be sturdy. You're going to have a lot more control, especially on the business funding side. My favorite product on the business funding side for short-term and long-term real estate investing and many other forms of business expansion and investing is lines of credit. When you can get your hands on and develop and expand out a line of credit, you literally have a cash checkbook. It doesn't matter the type of deal. It doesn't matter how far out that deal is. It doesn't matter if it's renovated or not. It doesn't matter. None of that matters because it is a blank check. It's cash. You can take control of your real estate investing journey so much better when you work through banks and get stuff like lines of credit in place. So the biggest problem is, how do I get this going in a timely fashion? That's what many of you have to understand, and why I still say private and hard money may still be the mecca for many of you in the short term, because you are going to need a minimum a year to 2 years to qualify for almost any line of credit. There's some exceptions, but a lot of them are fintechs and small institutions. That's a whole nother, fintech institutions and these new pop-up institutions, that's a whole nother conversation. They have their place, but they're not by any means, by my observation, the answer to you getting too connected or overindulged into these institutions, because a lot of them fail before they can get off the ground. Again, traditional banking is reigning supreme. You need to understand you need 1 or 2 years of operation in order to qualify for a line of credit with a quality institution. Once you get that under wraps, you can access that line of credit at least to mix with hard and private money, so you have at least some level of control over that deal, because you're not going to them begging for every penny. You have some portion, or even if that line of credit is only $20,000 or $30,000, you have some percentage of equity in that deal out of your pocket, cash. That gives you some leverage going into these hard money dealers and these private lenders, and that's gonna make you a less risky borrower to these individuals. So they're gonna give you better terms. When that line of credit starts to expand because your empire and portfolio starts to expand because there's more revenue, you develop business credit, you expanded personal credit. Yes, personal guaranteeing is still a phenomenal way to go about this. Now you're in a situation where that line of credit is growing, and the access to line of credits by different institutions, because you're beyond that 1-2 year mark of operations. You have tax returns, you have financial statements, personal and business credit is starting to develop. Now you can roll into almost any institution and get lines of credit. And what happens when you're buying in long-term or short-term, what you want to do, and I'm going to extrapolate out video by video, how to go into one institution to the next based on the market you're investing in. This is where you're getting really strategic, because you're not going to just rely on a Chase Bank or American Express or Navy Federal, one of these larger, mid to larger size institutions, and try to bring their business all over the country. That's great to have available, and I'm a huge proponent of it. But what really, like the real value is gonna come in when you can go into a local bank or a small regional bank and in a market that you're investing in, and procure an entire banking relationship and add that institution to your portfolio of banks and get funding, a business line of credit and long-term real estate investing funding in that market where that property or those properties you're looking to take down. That's power, because now these institutions are gonna understand your product better. They're gonna understand your business model better because that's their market. So their apprehension, your risk as a borrower, as a new face, is going to drop because you're in their backyard, you're feeding their economy, and you're doing deals that they can understand. And that's the power of building out your personal credit, your business credit, your revenue, structuring an actual business entity or multiple business entities incrementally, and collecting banks. Because at that point in time, yes, you got your big umbrella banks, you got your Chase banks, your American Expresses, your BOAs, whatever. Cool. But when it's time for me to get local, when it's time for me to get down there and meet people on the ground to be able to get, because these people are also going to be able to help feed you deals. They're going to be plugged into the contractors when you need work done. This is creating an ecosystem in the markets that you're looking to invest. And this is where the power of being able to qualify for bank level funding comes into play. So I'm going to continue to promote this content and introduce this content because it's a little different than the narrative that's been pushed for maybe a decade or two now, since the internet, space has emerged in the sector of financing and real estate. There's a lot of hype around creative financing. It has its place, but I promise you, it is not the long-term play in many cases. The power, control, the reduction of counterparty risk kicks in when you have bank level funding, because you're gonna get a blank checkbook on your line of credit to jump in and get that you're providing short-term capital for yourself. And then you're gonna turn around from there and be able to finance yourself out into a long-term fixed rate, low interest rate loan with a sturdy institution local to that market. That is the phenomenal strategy. That is literally the holy grail of capital access, cost of capital, and bank relationships expanding a powerful long-term and short-term real estate investing portfolio. Because you're gonna now have the ability to go in as a low-risk borrower, relationship-based, get the best rates from the best institutions that can provide it, with the freedom through your line of credit to grab almost any property that you want on a dime and finance yourself out with an institution you're gonna have a strong relationship with, who's gonna trust you and gonna build a network around you. That's where you ultimately wanna go, and that's where I'm gonna help you get through the content on this channel. So I want you guys to comment down below. Let me know where you are with your real estate investing journey. Let me know where you are. What model are you going with? Are you going long-term rentals, short-term rentals? You're not sure yet what questions you have. And let's talk more about the financing part, because I promote that you need your capital way before you try to get your deal. There's that argument out there, deal first or capital first. If you get your deal, you can find your capital. That's BS. That's not always true. Get the money first. You can turn your head at any moment and see an opportunity. And once the capital is behind you, it doesn't matter when, where, and how you find a property, you have the money. You turn around and put a contract on a property and you can't get that money fast enough under the right terms and conditions, because now you're desperate because you're in contract. You're in a totally different situation. You are the victim, or you are the prey instead of the predator in that scenario. So I want you to comment down below and let me know what your game plan is, where you are with your banking relationships, building out your portfolio of lenders and capital. I want you to talk to me about your real estate investing objectives so we can start building a plan around these things in this content. Other than that, to all my pioneers, welcome back. To my new viewers, welcome in. If you want to learn more about the channel, links in the description below. You can get started there. Other than that, I want y'all to stay focused. Stay in motion. I'll see y'all soon. This is JP from Blueprint for Prosperity Network, a channel dedicated to helping you increase your net worth through relationship banking, maximizing your borrowing capacity, the proper use of life insurance, and the ownership of real estate. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. I'm uploading content on a daily basis to help you customize your blueprint for prosperity.